Hi guys, in today's video I'll give you a quick overview of how to take control of the Catch Playhead settings in Logic. A really useful function, but frustrating if you haven't got the settings right. Let's jump in. So this is what the Catch Playhead icon looks like in Logic. It's available in various different locations depending on what you're doing and what you're looking at. You can turn it on by clicking, or you can just use the grave accent tilde key, which is next to Z on my keyboard, and that will switch it on and off for you. So leaving it switched on, we'll just see what it does. As we're playing our track, quite usefully, it's now scrolling along and showing us where we are in the timeline, and that's quite a nifty feature. So it also works in the edit window. I'm just going to press E, and I've got my MIDI track selected there. And you can see now the edit window is scrolling along with the main arrangement window. This also works with WAV files as well, audio and MIDI. So that's really useful, but what if I want to keep the track in one position while it's playing? Okay, you would think I just scroll along, and let's say I want it to be at bar 2 here. I can turn it off and I'll just play my track. And you can see what it did there. It automatically switched it on, and it took me back to the start again. So that's not very helpful. Similarly, in the edit window here, if I were to switch it off down there, it's doing the same thing. So to try and find out what's going on, the obvious place to look is in Logic settings. Let's do that now. I'm going to push Command and comma to open up the settings. That's the same as hitting Logic Pro and going through the settings menu there. And one thing to just quickly note is that you must have the advanced settings and complete features enabled. If I switch that off and I come back to general, you can see I've only got limited options here. I need to switch it on and come back to general, and now we can see that we've got catch. So here we can see the catch mode default settings. It's stating that editors with the catch button will update their view to follow the playhead position. And the options below change the default setting for all editors, which is really useful. So I'm just going to focus on these top two: catch when starting playback and catch when moving playhead. So what happens if I switch both of those off? And let's go back and try it. So now we've got those options switched off. In theory, I'm going to go back to my my second bar here. I can switch off the setting there, and let's see what happens. Well, that hasn't worked, and the reason for that is because these catch settings here in the settings menu are actually for the default when you start a new project. So I've just set up a new project. I'm going to give it a try. You can see the Catch Playhead is switched off by default in this one, and so if I scroll along to any part of the audio that I was particularly interested in here, let's say I'm going to go to bar 3 and I hit play, it's behaving as I would expect it to. So now we know how to change it for stuff moving forward, but what about our existing projects? So we've got this option to switch on and off, as we know, and we know the shortcut key for that. But what's not obvious is that if you control click, you can actually pull up a little sub-menu here, and you can actually switch them on and off in the project here. So what we can do is uncheck that catch when starting playback and catch when moving playhead. And now what it will do, if it's switched on, it will follow as we expect it to. But if I switch it off now and go back to our bar 2, it's now behaving as I would expect it to within this project. So it's important to understand that the Catch Playhead settings are completely independent depending on the view that you're looking at and which window they appear in. I'll just show you how that works. So if I push, select a MIDI track here, push P to bring up my piano roll, you can see I've got the Catch Playhead here for the arrangement window, and I've got another Catch Playhead option down in the piano roll. So let's say I switch this off up here, and I switch this off down here, and let's say I wanted to work on the MIDI around bar 3. Again, I push the space bar, and you can see that that behavior is still there. So what I need to do is actually right click or control click again within the piano roll, and you can see that my settings are still on. These settings here are independent of these settings here. I need to change them again if I'm working on an existing project and I haven't had that set up to my preferred defaults. If I turn them off, you can see now both of them are static. The other thing to note is that these are actually independent settings on different views. So if I look at the score editor here, I can see now that actually that is switched on. And if I right click or control click, the catch playhead when starting playback and catch when moving playhead are on again, and they are completely independent of the piano roll. The same thing is true in wave audio editing. You can see here that you've got these independent settings on the track window there, or track view, and also again on the file view. So just a little thing to be aware of if you're experiencing some behavior that you're not expecting. So getting control of your catch playhead settings can be really useful when you're editing. I'll give you an example of that. I've got the edit window open now with my track wave data here, and let's say I was using an automation tool here to control this. I could move to where I want, let's say there, and I can play the track and see when the playhead has passed it, make my edits without losing the focus on that section there. If I wanted to move around up here in the arrangement window, and I wanted to be able to select and say, now I'm going to work on this section of the audio, you can see as I click here, as I move around, it doesn't change this at all. If I control click on the catch playhead option there, I can now choose catch when moving playhead. So by default nothing happens, but if I were to scroll along and say choose bar 4, you can see now I've clicked there and I'm now working on bar 4. What it does do is it actually switches the catch playhead back on. So if I don't want it to continue scrolling, I'll just quickly switch that off, or I can use my my shortcut key to do that, and it will be there. So that's quite a useful thing if you're working your way through potentially a long vocal. You're going to be doing some automation on levels, for example, then that's quite a useful feature. The other thing to note as well is obviously you can just switch it back on to catch when starting playback, and if I turn off cycle, it doesn't matter where I'm playing from, that will now pick up any point in the song. So I hope that's been useful. Please do let us know if you've got any questions. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.